Okay, guys, I think we can start. So, welcome to the office hours. This is something that we put up as a team because, like, our previous meetups have been having a lot of participation, and we wanted to do something where we just hang out and go over things. So, we're going to do like an introduction on ongoing initiatives, stuff that's happening at Netdata. We'll be covering as well, like, our future roadmap, and then we'll just be answering questions. So welcome all, and I don't know, Hugo, Andy, who wants to start?
I'll drive it. Andy's kind of a co-pilot on this one, just kind of helping out when he thinks we should deep dive on something. Yeah. So I'll
Okay, so
share my
I'll
screen.
do the emojis. I'll do the emojis in the chat. That's what I'll do.
okay, Hugo, the stage is yours.
Cool. So
Enjoy.
thank you all for being here. It's really nice to have this opportunity to have you around and start this hopefully ongoing initiative. And we like to see you coming up on the next ones. So the first session today, we'll just do a brief introduction because the agenda is kind of a set by us. We heard about the poll that we sent out on wanting to hear about initiatives, the roadmap, but the goal will be more to focus on topics or things you might be interested. But we'll see some examples next. So we'll go through the introduction of this. What are the current ongoing initiatives, or at least the main ones? Speak about the future roadmap that is up ahead. Then, as Miguel said, an open slot for questions. And in the end, if we have time, we have some probably interesting questions and feedback that we got from the community, either Discord, the forum, or even GitHub that we'll like to also share here. So for future reference. If the last one we don't have time to do it, we can of course do it in the next session. So feel free to interrupt or ask questions throughout this. I'm just using the slides as a guide for you to see what we are discussing and what we are speaking about, but no need to wait for the slot to ask questions. So this is not supposed to be a kind of presentation, it's a conversation we're going to have. So feel free to jump in whenever you feel you like to ask something or share something. So in terms of office hours, our goal is to set up this space so we can help out the users and the community to get started with Netdata and to provide advice, tips, and tricks on anything that might be causing doubts or could not be clear or whatever you feel like we should be kind of focusing and driving. We'll come with topics for sure if nothing comes up, but the main goal will be to try to answer your doubts and your questions. So it will be really benefit to be driven by your needs and by your questions. We might cover a use case or troubleshooting need that someone raises or someone asks about. So we could even do some live demo or live troubleshooting to share that. And of course, it is also a slot for us to share what we are working on and the future plans. So we hope to continue to do that. Not saying that we'll do it, of course, on every kind of office hours, but periodically we should, of course, be sharing what's coming up ahead. And any question or anything that you might have, of course, we'll be here to answer and to speak about anything. So, yeah. So as a start, we are setting this to be kind of every 2 weeks. We are targeting to have it on Wednesdays, like mid of the week at this time. And the platform that we'll be using is going to be Discord. At least we're having good experiences with Discord. And one point that I want to raise on here is that if you cannot make these sessions, we will be recording them. It was something that came up on the last meetup. Someone was asking, how can I see this again in the future if I'm not able to attend or I missed something? So we are recording these sessions. We'll be posting them on our YouTube channel. So you should be able to go back to it and see something that was discussed, or even if you don't make it, it will be available for you to check it. So starting on the topics that we have to share. So the ongoing initiatives, we'll be covering like these 5 top initiatives that we are working on, and we'll see each one on detail. So I'll go directly to the first one. So this is an initiative that we are already delivering some parts of it. So if you see our overview tab or the single node view tab, these have sections on the table of content that are for the context of the metrics that you're receiving. Our goal is to provide high-level view of key metrics on each of these sections. In the end, we hope to get all of the sections covered with this kind of summary stats. So whenever you're trying to just kind of a glance through your war room or through the things that you're looking at, you can quickly see these summary stats and then deep dive and jump into specific ones. We'll, of course, want to have these summary charts available for custom dashboards. So you can also put them on your custom dashboards and create even your summary sections if you want. And we'll want to have also actions to be triggered from them. So I'm looking to some chart. I want to drill down, see what's happening in more detail. So you should be able to click on it and deep dive into the actual chart and continue your investigation. So I'm going to show just a couple of them here. I'm not going through all of them. The presentation is, of course, being shared, so you'll be able to deep dive into this. And all the links are to our Netdata demo space. So even if you don't have a cloud account, you are able to enter and play with it and see. So starting on the first one, we are looking to the CPU chart. If you see here, we have like 4 main gauges telling you what is the behavior of your CPU cores. And then we have a new chart that was recently introduced that is like a table chart with a horizontal gauge, let's say. So you can see exactly from each of kind of the above main gauges, what are the details, what is the dimension of the CPU that is taking most of the usage in this case. So we'll be kind of creating these kind of views throughout the dashboard. So this is an example. We have one and also on the Kubernetes, on the containers and virtual machines. So you can see here the main utilization by C group. You can see like you can use even this Sparkline chart to navigate throughout time. And of course, the gauges will be updated with this. Let me probably try to put some bigger time reference, so it's more interesting to see some data. This is another example. And I think also a good one could be like Postgres also. So this is one of the first ones that we did with a lot of details, a lot of metrics, focus on like the load on the database, the cache hit ratio. So key metrics that we kind of identify that are key. And these kind of charts are, of course, open for your suggestions. So if you see some metric that you like to see on one of these charts, you should be able to reach out to us either with a feature request or Discord. We'll be keen on listening to you. And we have plans to probably make this kind of available for users to define themselves. So if you have a collector, you will probably be able to define this kind of summary dashboard, the summary charts for you. So this is for future ahead. So for now, it will need to be through our private repo that we are doing this, but we are aiming to open this for users inputs and maintenance, let's say. And one last one, just like the Windows one as another example. So you are able to see here, again, the same kind of thing. So total disk read, CPU per process, IO per process. So these kind of charts are powerful for you to be able to see in a glance what's kind of happening on each of these sections. So this is an ongoing initiative because we already delivered a few of them, but we will be kind of iterating and building more and putting more visualization and more things on top of this. So it's kind of a ongoing, let's say. I'll keep moving. So if I don't see any question or if nobody kind of interrupts, I'll move into the next one. So Heatmaps. That Netdata already has the mean to collect metrics that will be visualized in Heatmaps. So for example, latency metrics that you can get from Prometheus endpoints that you're on the applications that you're scraping. And we needed to ensure our chart types will have the proper means to visualize this, because we'll be seeing in the next slide what is the current visualization. So we were using kind of a stacked chart to display like the distribution, but this of course is not helpful. So This is not yet live, but we hope to soon release a proper view of like a heat map, and with where charts like latency will be really insightful, or you could quickly see what's happening on this kind of visualization. So we are doing the final touches on this, so we hope to soon get this out, and you guys can also start to experience this. And yeah. So moving to the next one, we are on the alerts domain. We have also a couple of initiatives advancing here, and one of them is the alert notification silencing. So we know we have silencing capabilities through an API on the agents, but we want to allow to have this exposed and available from the cloud. So we are building a silencing engine that will cover the needs like schedule maintenance. You can specify start time, end time, and be sure that cloud will activate those silencing configurations. Or if you're troubleshooting something that is happening on the moment and you don't want to keep being notified by the alert or things like that, you can silence the alert or the node or whatever you want in an immediate state. So you don't need to keep receiving notification for something that you're already working at and you know that is happening. What this will mean, active alerts will still be visible from Cloud UI and even the local agent dashboard. What we are doing is kind of blocking the notifications to be sent from Netdata Cloud to the channels where you would receive them, like email, PagerDuty, Discord, or whatever you have set up. The entities that we will allow you to silence is going to be the space. If you want to silence the entire space because it's a full maintenance happening across everything, so you could silence the space. Specific war rooms, specific nodes or alerts, and you'll have some extra capabilities on the nodes. You don't need to specify the alert name. You could be doing this by host labels. The alerts, you can do this by the context of the metric that the alert is looking at. There's kind of several options you'll be able to see how you can do it. And when you define these kind of silencing rules, you will be able to do it for all the users in the room or the space that you're at, or you can do this as a personal rule for yourself. So I don't want to be bothered by the alerts. I just do it for myself, and everybody keeps receiving them as they need. The final point here is that this feature is going to be available on paid plans. And actually, it's a good point that this is also mentioned here. In case you haven't seen the latest update we did, we have recently revisited the pricing of our plans. And for example, the space subscription price has been lifted off. So we have waived it off based on feedback we have been receiving. So we hope to make the plans more accessible for people to jump on them. So this is kind of a screenshot of our kind of, we are still doing tests and doing our internal dogfooding on this. So I would say in the next couple of weeks, this should be out for you to also be able to use it. So this is just an example of what you'll be able to use in terms of your silencing rule definition. So you have multiple attributes, you have the schedule to be immediate and until I turn it off, or a schedule silence. So you'll be able to have flexibility to silence based on what you need. Yeah, I think that's pretty much like the scope of this one. Another one still around the alerts. We are actually working on a notification mobile
Hugo,
app.
there's a little bit of chat actually about the silencing. So the silencing is
we can go back.
Yeah, no, some and this has come up a few times around kind of having sort of like a dynamic alert based on time of day or based on when you're doing an update, without having to kind of use the agent health API, but actually be able to bake it into the alert itself. And the example that also comes up a lot is like when Netdata updates, it also then sort of triggers a lot of its own alerts. So some sort of way where we could have some sort of variable in the alert configurations to tell if it's just after a Netdata update, then maybe adjust the thresholds and things like that. And there's a PR actually that's out at the moment. That's a draft. I stuck it in the chat. And the idea there is to basically introduce a wider range of like variables into the alert. And these variables can be kind of constant variables within that data, or they could be the result of like a function. So the idea, I think, is that if we had like variables, we could have a variable that says, you know, if you're in the next hour after a net data update, then it's a 1 or a 0, and you could use that in the actual alert config to kind of adjust your thresholds to loosen them. Or like we get a lot with backups, and people do backups, and the disk alerts go crazy. They could adjust the thresholds around a backup because they know it's going to be a false positive. So I think the plan is to try and do variables in a sort of a higher level way that we could kill a couple of birds at one stone. Just thought I'd throw it out there because there's a bit of chat on the chat.
Yeah, makes sense. We'll probably need to check some of those cases directly because, for example, I know some of them probably could be achieved with this silencing rule engine, because like backups, if you know the time that the backups happen, you could have a silencing rule defined for those backups. Of course, if it's a Netdata agent update, the time could vary. So we probably need to be smart and use those variables that you're speaking about and try to feed them into the configuration to see that.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah, because it does it. The Netdata updates are generally around the same time on each agent, so there must be. We must try and see if there's a way to kind of do that with this new alert silence, and I must look at that actually once we do it.
Yeah. We could try also in our dogfooding to see that. Yeah. Cool. Good feedback. Yeah, definitely good discussion. Trying to see if any. I think it's nobody else is adding anything. So then moving to the next one. You guys see my presentation? So
yeah, it's all good. Everyone's mobile. Everyone's excited about the mobile. Mobile. Did you say mobile?
So the mobile, I think I went too further ahead. So as I was trying to share, this is going to be a new personalized notification integration channel. So it's like your email. It's just for yourself. It's not like a Slack or Discord that is for a specific channel that is going to be for the people that are on that. So this is for you. And the goal is for you to give you a quick glimpse of the notifications on your space. So using your mobile, you should be able to see immediately what are the active alerts, what notifications you got, and you can slice and dice these and see them by war room and use some other filters to be just focusing on the things that you're interested on. And you will also be able to personalize the level of priority, let's say. So if something is really critical, you want to have the ringtone and some siren telling you that you need to look at this. Or if it's something like a warning or something that is not relevant, it could be just the banner or just a vibration or something. So you will be able to tweak these kind of things, and you can, of course, personalize this to your taste, and it's going to be just for yourself because it's, as we say, it's a personal notification integration that is going to be out there. And this is, of course, a first step into the mobile application of Netdata. So we are for now focusing on this domain. It doesn't mean that we will not do something for charts or for something else. So it's just a starting point, let's say. But yeah, just to measure like expectations for now, it's focusing on these alerts. Yeah. So this is just some examples from our designs. This is not yet the actual application that is developed. So you'll be able to see the notifications, the spaces, and the details of the alerts. You'll have a snapshot of the chart and see the full details of like the landing page you have on the UI.
Question on this, Hugo, actually, that I'm wondering about myself. Is this Android and
Android,
OS? iOS?
iOS also, yeah. It's for both.
Cool.
And you also have, of course, the settings for these things. The mobile app, as far as I know, it's for paid plans. I think there's not yet a final decision, but I think everything is kind of entailing that it's going to be for paid plans. Yeah. So in terms of still on the alerts domain, this is a next one that we are also working at. So the Netdata Troubleshooting Assistant. And basically, this is our first also step to providing you a helpful assistant and focusing on alerts as well. So for now, when you see an alert, you want to know, what do I need to do next? What should I look at? What is this alert about? So the Netdata system is being designed to help you answer these kind of things. So what is happening? What is this alert being triggered for? What next steps should I do to troubleshoot this? And is there some helpful links or some documentation and guides that I should look at to be able to sort out and then try to figure it out? As mentioned, this is just a first step to a full-fledged Netdata AI assistant. And yeah, this is, I can show, of course, a kind of a brief sketch from our kind of ideations and the work that is being already done. So you'll be able to have on your active alerts page on Netdata, you'll be able to click on some icon or some button that will trigger your assistant. It will summarize to you what I was just speaking about. So understanding the alert, what you need to do to check for this specific alert, what you need to monitor, and if there's documentation you need to follow, it will give you that context, and you should be in a way to sort it out, basically. And yes, ChatGPT warning. We should remove the file system. So that was it for the ongoing initiative. So I'll probably just do a small pause to see if anything comes up on this last one before moving to the roadmap. No. Okay, probably if something comes up, of course, we have the slot to go into more details. Going to the roadmap. The plan here is to start by showing what we have already published out as our public roadmap. I'm not going to go through all this page because you'll see that this is a lot of details and very kind of explaining why we are doing things and what is our thought process on things. This is more like a longer term vision of what we want.
The question there, Hugo.
Okay.
About alert silencing. So if we integrate notifications into PagerDuty or Ops Genie, and the alarm is triggered, does that mean I can click acknowledge to show that you've seen the alarm? So kind of getting into workflow stuff, I think, in terms of incidents and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's also something in our roadmap. It's not linked to the silencing, so we don't yet make actions to happen on our integrations. So silencing is just still on the domain of Netdata. So we just block the integrations. Yeah.
There's an example there of, like, you know, when you get the notification to Slack and it has that rich integration where you kind of have the Slack ops almost. I've used this in a few places where you can just deal with it there and then in Slack or in to tell it, like, acknowledge, close, silence, and all that sort of good stuff. Yeah, that's good to know.
That's for sure. It's something we will want to work. Just not sure yet in terms of the roadmap where it will fall, but it will depend, of course, on the needs and the priorities we get for that. Yeah. So just checking if anything else. Yeah, with coffee, we can probably discuss offline. Zaitek, yeah, we can see that. So, but it's good feedback that you're really kind of keen and interested on that. Yeah, that's a good thing for us to know. So probably continuing on the roadmap. As I was saying, this is public page on our website, and it is a long-term vision of what we are aiming to do for our product and to bring to the product. Just briefly scanning through this, as I said, I will not go through the full page on this one. So we want to have monitoring accessible to everybody with zero configuration, zero preparation, out-of-the-box dashboards, out-of-the-box alerts that are meaningful for you, that you can use and you can even then customize. We want to have for you to have a minimal learning curve, so people should be ready to use Netdata out of the box without being an expert, let's say, in monitoring. And of course, our concern of cost efficiency and still being open and free and forever for everybody. We want to have high fidelity insights, so keep working on the slicing and dicing capabilities of our dashboards and charts, so you can have the per second granularity and just pivot the data however you want to see it. Empower collaboration, working on the community knowledge, as I was saying. We will also allow you to propose stuff for the summary dashboards. We want to drink from the community knowledge and try to bring this knowledge to the product and make it better. And also, as you see with the Netdata Troubleshooting Assistant, keeping using AI and machine learning, even with the anomaly rate on the charts. So we want to keep pushing on getting you these kind of insights and things that will help you pinpoint exactly what's happening and help you navigate through the application and through your systems to try to pinpoint the issues you might be facing. So this will touch around visualization, dashboards. There's multiple things, it's all the domains. It's like the architecture of the product, improvement to streaming, the replication, machine learning. This is next steps on machine learning, alerts and notifications. So it's kind of throughout all of the product, this kind of roadmap. So if you want to see the full details, of course, you can go to the page and see this in much more detail. So, but I think for this call, the most probably important ones or the most interesting ones is what's up next, let's say, in the real next initiatives after the ones that we just spoke about. So I can start from the first one. So the alert configuration management from Netdata Cloud is, for the beginning, is going to be an initial UI wizard, kind of a based wizard that you can use from cloud to give you the output of an alert configuration. So you should just like tell the wizard what you want to do, what you want to trigger by thresholds, delay in terms of notifications, all the configurations you have from the definition of the alert. You should be able to easily do that from the cloud with advanced options and basic options. So just kind of through the wizard, you get like the output of the alert you want to define, and then using some kind of a CI/CD tools or deploying directly to the agents, you should be able to get new alerts or editing existing alerts out of the box and do them. Of course, in a later stage, we'll aim to do this kind of a push configurations to the agents, but this will be kind of in a phased approach, let's say.
Another good question there about the alerts silencing, how the setup works with like user groups and teams, which I don't think is something we've really built too much yet, but it's we have thought about it, I think, before. But so can you silence different alerts for different groups, and how does that work and all that sort of stuff?
At the moment, it's not possible to specify kind of a group and attach it to the silencing rule. What could happen is if you have users belonging to different rooms, and when you silence a room, you silence just for the users that are inside that room. So if someone else is with access to the all nodes room, different from the one that you were silencing, the other people will still keep getting the alerts, let's say. But for the one that you silenced and the users that are on that room, they will not get the alerts because you're kind of linking it to the room, and the room is kind of a set of the users that are inside that, and you could use that. But definitely, this is something interesting, and we have discussed about some, not sure if with groups or with some kind of custom kind of configurations, we could try to cover that kind of need. Yeah, but it's
But just to add to that,
an understood need.
Just to add to that, Hugo,
But not part of this initial release. Yeah, to make it clear.
Do you hear me, Hugo?
Yeah, go on, Sachin.
Okay, so I think just to add to that, in our case right now, the only user group we have is all users and individual. So if an admin wants to silence an alert, a specific alert, and you would be silencing an alert for either for all users or just for yourself, right? So the concept of user groups is just all or nothing at this point in time. You don't have, apart from what Hugo mentioned, if you choose war room as your entity of silencing, then yes, all the users who belong to the war room would be kind of silenced. But in principle, if you talk about the entire space for an individual alert, you could either silence for everyone or for yourself. And only an admin can do this, right? At some point in the future, hopefully we have more user groups that can be created, and then the control over who gets silence, etc. Where to go?
Yeah, thanks for chiming in, Satya. Yeah, and definitely these kind of silencing rules for the space is something for the admins or the managers, let's say. The other roles is going to be more focused on personal silencing rules. So I set up my personal silencing. Yeah.
Another question there about is there plans to allow removing of specific silencers? Currently, you can only remove all silencers. I think this was I think a question came up similar to this on the help.
It's on the agent, right? I think this is on the agent. Yeah, I remember this. I think it's from Discord. So this work that we are speaking here is mainly on cloud. For these specific silencers, I'm not sure if we have this on track, but we'll try to follow up on this question that was also even raised on Discord and try to see what we have in terms of plans for this. Yeah, but at the moment I cannot answer that. Yeah. Just checking if there's anything else on the chat.
Some feedback that definitely Teams is something that we definitely need to kind of invest in, especially for like enterprisey type stuff, which totally makes sense to me. Not Microsoft Teams.
The concept of roles to be kind of a map to team. Yeah. We'll of course need to look into that. But let's do first steps slowly and make sure we push things out, and then of course we can iterate and incorporate more feedback and more things. Yeah. But we will want to push this out because it's a feature that was spoken several times back, and I think even with the current setting, it's already going to help some users with some specific cases. So yeah. So I think we mentioned about the alert configuration management from cloud. And the next one is about the cloud dashboard at the agent. So we want to make sure everybody that uses Netdata, either a Netdata cloud user or a specific Netdata agent user, they should get the same kind of experience in terms of UI. So whatever is the cloud UI, we want to bring it to the agent. So the new charts, the new summary charts, all those kind of things, they should be also available at the agent. And we are aiming to bring that. And this is going to be a big initiative that we are pushing for to achieve that. So that's definitely something we want to have, everybody having the same experience, let's say, while using Netdata, and don't have like two different UIs and different kind of ways to use the product, let's say. So the next one, it's around the Prometheus and OpenMetrics. So we have already, of course, a Prometheus collector, and there's already some flexibility in terms of the configurations you can do when you're scraping metrics. But we know this needs some attention, and we know this needs to be kind of further improved. And we want to make it easier for our users to be able to modify the collector and configure how they want the metrics to be ingested, how they want them to be presented, what kind of dimensions, what kind of groupings. So we want to make this more flexible and more kind of once you configure this, you just go to the UI and you just get the results you want to see. So you don't need to do anything else. And we need to make this, of course, very flexible, very easy to use. And that's the goal of this. Just checking in terms of the conversation. So something about Netdata functions. Probably, I'm not sure if I got the question, because we have a feature that is called functions that currently is used to monitor like processes, HTOP, and getting some statistics out of that. I'm not sure if it relates to that, or if it's more towards the collector. We have like fping to kind of monitor uptime and if other hosts are reachable. So not sure exactly, but we probably following the thread is more. If we can probably park this, I think we'll move next to the open questions. So once we complete this, we can focus really on questions and deep dive on them, and yeah, just complete this one. So I think I completed the topic of OpenMetrics and Prometheus. So the next one is about like easy and fast way to create custom dashboards. We know our custom dashboards are in need of some improvements and some revamp, let's say, and we want to really make it easy for you to kind of drag and drop charts, change the configurations of the charts. So the flexibility you see on the overview with creating those summary charts should be available on custom dashboards. So we want to make it really easy for you to be able to create your view and create the things you are interested to see, and in a very, very easy way to do. So that's basically our goal with this. And touching also a bit into the sharing capabilities of dashboards. So it should be easy for you to share dashboards with the team on your space. And eventually, we'll also like to see something like public sharing, but no promises on that one, because we still are a bit far into the details of this one, but yeah. So moving to the following one, with the work that was done on the new charts, there's an area that we did not complete or we did not go to, that was the area below the charts. So when you're looking to a chart, you're in the context of what you're seeing, and we want to have a way you can kind of expand a section below the chart where you could do a drill down inside that context of the chart. I want to drill down into the metrics, to the nodes, to the instances, and see more details of what's happening. I want to be able to compare the exact same metrics and the same groupings and the slicing and dicing that I did with the past day, past week, past months, depending, of course, on data retention. But you should be able to compare how these metrics are kind of varying and changing based on the past data. So you should be able to compare currently with the past. And besides, on top of that, we also want to allow you to correlate, again, focused on these contexts. You should be able to easily say, I want to correlate this specific chart and this specific data that I'm seeing with everything else. So it's like a zoomed in and kind of inspection mode on the chart that you'll be able to do all this kind of exploration and comparisons, let's say. So you're able to understand what I'm seeing at the moment. Is it something I should worry about? Is something that is normal or not? So to be focused on that, yeah.
Good question. A good bit of feedback there, because I have the same thing that I think I have some feature requests about this as well from Lewis around keep chart settings on the cloud, like kind of caching them in either the front end or so you don't have to go and do your same group by, because I find when I'm in certain work modes, when I'm testing some of the anomaly detection stuff, I go and I do the same sequence of clicks where I do all the different group bys and stuff, which is something that, and sometimes I want to do different sets of group bys. So it's a good feedback that I think it'd be great if there's ways for us to kind of save different views. I think we have talked about like different views on the whole of, like, say, the overview screen, and one view might have different sets of group bys and one view might have different sets of group bys. But even as a first step, if we were to somehow let the users save their defaults for a chart to say, like, okay, this is my default I want for this chart, like, there's a few, I think there's definitely some low-hanging fruit that we could do there. It's good to see that feedback, because I kind of have the same feedback myself.
Yeah, if I have to change a stack chart to a line chart, one more time, I'm gonna go off the deep end. It's just every time, and it's not a variable. It's like the same ones every single time. I want them to be different.
Yeah, same here. Sometimes I have my clicks. I do the same clicks, and I'm too quick sometimes, even before the page is even fully loaded. So yeah, I have the same pain there for sure.
If I'm not mistaken, we have that as kind of a small breakdown of the cloud dashboard at the agent. So I think we are trying to club that together with this initiative. But I saw it definitely in our backlog and to be worked soon, let's say. So by context, by the page you're seeing, you should be able to save the settings. So the next time you come to Netdata, you should have the view you defined. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think probably I can continue. So on the next one, it's about OpenTelemetry compatibility. So here we are trying to make sure we kind of are in let's say adherence with the standards. So we need to have our unit standards according to UCUEM, the naming conventions. We need to have a proper open telemetry collector, an open telemetry exporter, and stop doing some things that we have from the past, like the flipping sign-on dimensions. So if you see the bandwidth charts, you see the receiving as a positive, the sent as a negative. So we will adhere to the standards of OpenTelemetry and make sure we are kind of in line with the way this is represented, and also it will help us drive the how do I say the out of the box and the kind of the configurations we want to have straight from the collectors. So the collector will tell the UI how to present the data, how to group the information. So we want to have this kind of everything kind of tied together and be driven by this. Yeah. See feedback for open questions, so probably we can see that afterwards. And then the last one is Netdata on-prem offerings. So we have had a couple of potential users, I mean, with specific needs that they have air-gapped needs, they have isolated infrastructures that they will need to have a Netdata on-prem. So we had already done a POC, I think, last year about this and try to explore the idea. We will need to pick this up again because this is coming more frequently and more kind of a recent. We need to pick this up again and try to complete this step of the POC and create like an MVP product of this. And we will be kind of working on this as well. So you can see this is quite a few of initiatives that are coming up ahead. And of course, there's more things after this, but I think this is already a very good kind of a subset of things that we have. So probably opening this for questions. So let me just check the one that was on the thread. What about freezing a graph? If you are debugging something, want to jump back and forth to compare memory or iOS?
Yeah, I think this plays nicely into the expand stuff that Costa is really keen on, potentially.
Yeah, it feels like...
You try and explain it now, so you try and explain it. This will be...
So the way we were speaking about that expanded area on the chart, is it to be, as I said, the kind of inspection moment that you're doing based on the, let's say in your case, it was the memory chart. You're looking to the memory chart and you want to see other correlated things that are related to this. And you might want to see, of course, charts with the same daytime period, with the same things. And that I think is going to be the main kind of a goal for this expanded area, to allow you to, in the context of this that you're seeing, how can I compare other things to it, and be able to kind of if Netdata doesn't correlate things, I try to also see what I can read from it. Yeah.
That's good feedback, because the way I think Costa has been thinking about the expanded stuff is that it's going to be kind of data driven based on, say, metrics correlations or anomaly rates or similarity. But there's also another use case here, which is like user driven. Maybe the user knows what else they want to look at, and we must make sure that that's in there as well. I think that is in there because in the expand area you'd be able to search for what it is and stuff. So, but I hadn't actually thought about that. So yeah, it's good.
I'll take a note just to be sure. But yeah, I think it's like a self-driven kind of exploration that we are doing. So users decide what they want to see, and yeah. But yeah, it's definitely good feedback for that initiative. Yeah. So I just took note of that. Checking some feedback on the unfriendliness of Netdata for beginners. This is actually some feedback we have received in the past, and we are trying to simplify and even bringing these summary charts. So we don't want users to see probably the full set of metrics from the beginning on the overview page. So if we could bring these short summaries on every section, users should be able to focus on the key metrics that we are trying to bring to their attention. So instead of going through scrolling through all the charts and all the things, looking to the summary charts, summary dashboards or summary charts, you should be able to try to pinpoint something specific. And with that, you then, of course, can drill down to other points. And indeed, even with the AI and the machine learning stuff, you'll try to have Netdata guide you and try to help you navigate through your infrastructure to the things that are happening. So I see also feedback on Prem. This on-prem, we haven't yet defined the full scope of this. We have several ideas and several things. So we have like fully deployed and fully hosted by our users. So they put it on their infrastructure and they manage it and host it. And there's also the possibility that we could host it ourselves in a dedicated VPN or hosting service for that specific user. So there's both things on the table. Probably the first one that will work, this kind of a guess, is going to be the fully on-prem, because based on the POC that we did, it seems to be like the most straightforward thing. But we have everything on the table to discuss on this. So if you have specific needs about this, feel free to reach out to us here on Discord or by the DM or whichever way you prefer. So we will also be interesting to know specific needs and specific use cases for this on-prem. Yeah.
I was the one who asked that question about on-prem. I can add a little bit if you guys want.
Yeah, I think we probably
Like now?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I mean, we currently run like a parent and many children. We kind of are in like a bit of an air-gapped environment and want to minimize the like performance impact on the nodes that we're monitoring. So we have children and parent, and then the parent, I guess, is what we connect to the cloud, but we still haven't gotten too into the cloud stuff. So I was kind of curious what, the on-prem might do and if any of like the parent-child stuff is going to change. Or...
Yeah, I think in your case, we have even discussed about Netdata being able to host the parents, for example, in these use cases. But that kind of it's not yet the isolation, because even for it to be able to even isolate the parents from the rest of the world, you need to have like a full kind of a dedicated connection to the parent and your own kind of cloud, let's say. So it will really depend. I think we have a thought about all these things. We will need to nail it down. But the first one that I was speaking about is you hosting even the cloud UI, the cloud services, backend service that we have. Of course, more kind of a limited or more kind of a condensed setup from our infrastructure. But it's kind of users hosting everything. We'll give, of course, all the instructions, all the requirements for something like that. But it feels like that is the first approach that we'll take at this. But again, in terms of initiative, this is coming a bit later, so we'll go through more discussions and more planning and more details on this. And we will, if we need, we'll reach out to users like yourself to get more kind of understanding of specific needs.
The hosted parent sounds very like what we would love,
Mm-hmm. Definitely, when we go into that, I'll take note of your feedback and also engage with you, of course, to get more details at that time or sooner to us to pick it up. Well, I kind of lost a bit of track on the chat, so let me just try to see if there is anything else to focus on. Question about Windows installation. At the moment, we don't have yet on our plans to create a native Windows kind of a agent or kind of a let's say installation. But so at the moment, this is through Prometheus exporter. So if you have a Unix server where you remotely monitor these Windows machines, it's the way we are planning for now to keep this as it is. So we don't have plans yet for native agents on Windows.
See, Costa's joined there now, so I it's funny. Don't know. You probably soon, Costa. I'd say we'll have some. There was discussion about the expand section, and myself and Hugo were trying to explain the expand section, and it's. I think you're the best able to explain it. But one of the things that came up was like if you have an idea in your head to be able to drive the expansion, so that maybe you know which things you want to check. That's like important to users as well, as opposed to it being purely data driven, to have it so that somebody can actually drive the expand based on like they know what they want to check and stuff, which I think is in scope. I think that's in scope, but that was some good feedback relevant for the expand stuff.
So the expanded chart, you mean, eh?
Yeah.
So in the expanded chart, guys, there are three categories of tools that we will add there. One is the drill down. So you see a chart, for example, that comes from, I don't know, 1,000 or 10,000 or 20,000 containers. And you see a spike or a dive or something anomalous there. And the question is, okay, out of these thousands of containers, which one? Which ones are the offending ones? Which ones are responsible for the spike or the dive or the anomaly? So the drill down tool will actually allow you to find out which ones. It will present you a list of all the possible, if it is 20,000 metrics time series, it will give you a list of 20,000 time series, which you will be able to sort according to your criteria. Anomaly rate, minimum value, maximum value, average value, or whatever else it is there. This will also work for highlighted areas. So you will be able to see the same thing either for the entire window, the whole chart, or for a highlighted area. The second tool is, you see a behavior, okay? On the chart, you see a line going in some way, and you start asking, how does this compare to yesterday? Or, sorry, mute. Is Leah here? Can you mute? Okay. So you start asking questions about, how does this compare to yesterday, to the peak of the day, to the bottom of the day, to 1 week ago, same day, same hour. So you need information to actually comprehend if what you are seeing is good or bad. Is this better than yesterday, same hour? Last week, same day, same hour? Is it better or worse? Is it up or down? So the second analysis is about comparisons of the same data set, the same data set against its past. And the third tool that we are building has to do about correlating these metrics that you see, this chart that you see, with everything else. So you see a spike or a dive and you say, okay, what else? Like the metric correlations and the anomaly advisor that we currently have, but we also plan to add more tools there, like the similarity check. So you see, for example, a chart has, 2 or 3 spikes, right? And the question is there anything else that has a similar behavior like this? Any other metric in this time frame? So we are trying to make it simpler for for all of us to be able to drill down, find the needle in the haystack. If the chart is a lot of metrics, a lot of instances, a lot of dimensions, try to find what is the most important ones. The second is understand the metric based on its past, compare it with its past to actually get an idea of if what you are looking is good or bad, or how it compares. And the third is to actually allow you to correlate with everything else and find similarities across metrics, dependencies across metrics, etc. So this will also solve a couple of more problems, mainly because if you have, OpenMetrics monitoring custom application and the likes, the ledgers, the metrics themselves may be huge, vast. So People, for example, in Grafana, they usually slice the screen in two and they put the legend on one side and the other on with a graph. We want a more efficient way. So the moment you expand, you will be able to have a legend that is as wide as the entire screen. So this will allow you actually to use all the space to render all the information available. Yeah, go on, Nadi, sorry.
No. That's that's much better than what we could do. It was just interesting. I hadn't thought as well about, like, say you're a user and you already have a hypothesis in your head of which chart you think it could be. You have a hunch. We also need to support the workflow where you can just check that hunch yourself straight away, which I think we have in like, you can search, you can drive the expansion. I hadn't really thought about that, but.
Guys, I want to ask, since this is the first office hours, can I ask a question for anyone willing to answer? I have the following concern. Should we first go deeper into providing more and more advanced tools for troubleshooting and all this stuff that we are discussing? Or we should first try to simplify Netdata even further? For example, we could focus on providing centralized configuration of everything. So instead of configuring plugins and data collection the way you do now by editing files, to have everything on the data cloud. So you go to the data cloud, you say, okay, I want to monitor a Postgres server. It is there, this is the username, this is the password, connect to it from that node and grab the metrics. And boom, your metrics are there. No configuration needed, no change. The same with alerts. So I see a chart. This is interesting because we are thinking a lot how you can have a chart and create an alert from the same user interface. So I see a chart and I say, okay, I want this bar there, that everything that goes above that. Create an alert for me with the same groupings that I have, etc. So what is better for you? What you miss the most? Deeper and more capable analysis and troubleshooting? Both will be done. What's first priority, I'm asking? So deeper, dive deeper, or simplify further, make it even easier to use Netdata. Does anyone have any opinion about it?
Andy is running a quick poll in chat, and most people are voting for simplification. So
I knew it.
I definitely get the feeling that Netdata is starting to run more towards, focusing on features rather than sort of necessarily focusing on polishing everything it already has. Even though I think the product's really good, but you don't have, lots of things, basic things around, how you handle silencing alerts, or as we discussed earlier, a lot of RBAC and stuff. And the thing is, especially from my perspective, coming from primarily a WinOps background, all that stuff really has to be in place for a solution like this. Less so on the Linux side, but definitely on the Windows side, because you've got to have control over that. You've got to have you've got to be able to audit all of that stuff. And plus, on Windows, configuration management can be quite a pain.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Sorry.
Yes, I agree. So simpler and more the basic functionality that's expected out of such a system is more important. I agree. This is what I was thinking too. So probably we may rearrange the thing. We're going to think a bit. So this expanded thing may come on the next release, not one after this, a couple of releases later.
What about all the fancy machine learning stuff we want to do?
Yeah, well, we're going to do them all. It's just a matter of prioritization. We are here.
Awesome.
There was one question. There was one last question around Kubernetes support from Lewis as well, actually, around do we officially support Kubernetes Because I think this came up once or twice in the past. I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think yes. Definitely, we have the visualization. We have like the claiming and all that stuff. So we are on Kubernetes support.
Okay, because I was told that the Helm chart wasn't production ready, and when I have installed it on a bare metal cluster, which already had Netdata agents installed because I had them monitored already, all the stats got messed up because when I looked at a thing like a temperature chart, it was summing the temperature taken from the native agent's perspective, but with the data or the metric taken from the Kubernetes perspective. So I straight away thought my servers were on fire because they were like 100 degrees Celsius, but in fact it was just it doubled. And I've had a sort of not really much good response because I understand that some places just want to pay lip service to it, and that's fine because it's not a deal breaker for me. But I'd just like to know whether to bother wasting more time on it, to be honest.
Yeah, thanks for feedback. Definitely.
Yeah, I remember that thread actually, and I think it was what we would need to do is like, I think when we use Kubernetes ourselves, but it's in a cloud setting, and we dog food on all of our environments. But I think the bare metal setting is something that we could probably we might need to look into. I'll resurrect that thread because we do have servers in the office as well, so we could probably try and recreate. I think it's more of like a use case that we probably haven't actually covered that much yet, but it's definitely worth looking into. So I'll ping on that help thread and we can pick it up again because I think it's worth not letting it die.
Just let's don't want to hog this, but you were talking about no plans of making a native Windows agent. Because one of my questions on my little list here is, were you planning on supporting PowerShell as a collector or as a collector language? Because obviously in the Windows world, that is like pretty much the de facto scripting or automation language. So I'm kind of curious about that because it would make it it would make writing collectors a lot more accessible. And that's kind of one of the big reasons I'm interested in it.
So about Windows, guys, we have two challenges to solve. One is that we need to have our code base ported to Windows. For this, we are already working, and I think that if you notice, recently we merged we replaced the internal web server we had built ourselves with H2O. That is portable on Windows. And at the same time, for many of the POSIX-related APIs, we use libuv, which is also mainly because libuv is the backend of Node.js. It works everywhere. So we're in this process to actually change the agent so that it will be possible at the end to build it natively on Windows without a POSIX layer at all, natively on Windows. So once we reach that point, I think the next thing is exactly what you are saying. So we're gonna focus on how to collect data from Windows. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. So we need a couple more iterations to get rid of the POSIX layer or to abstract it completely so that the data will be possible to be built natively on Windows. Once we are there, I think that we will be able to proceed faster on collectors.
I presume you've already considered this, you smart guys, but do we really need a native agent as opposed to, I don't know, I'm not a developer, some kind of, layer that sits between them? Because to be honest, I mean, as a Windows guy, I don't really care that it's not a native agent. What I care about is how easy it is for me to write things for it.
Yeah, I agree. The problem is the following. Netdata has a reputation on being performant and efficient. Now, if you install it on Windows and your experience is not that good, so it's slow and sluggish, come on, this will not be nice. So we need a way, even for example, take the file names. Linux uses slashes, Windows uses backslashes. It will be stupid not to port something properly. So I think that this work needs to be done. And we're very close. The web server, the replacement with H2O was the last and a critical part of Netdata that is now ported. So we are trying in the next, probably in the next few days, we're gonna remove the old code and use exclusively H2O. So I think we're very close. Now, again, it's a matter of prioritization, guys. This is very important for you to understand because we don't have infinite resources. And also one of the problems that we have to tackle is that mainly because we are funded by VCs, we need to start aggressively monetizing at some point. So we need to show revenue in order to gain the trust of investors and get the next funding round, the next funding round. So it's a more complex thing because we need, at the end, we need to prioritize what will expand the community more, what will give more growth to the project.
Well, it's funny you say that because my perspective, and certainly others can have their own perspectives, is that the open source community, and by extension, the sort of Unix community is often used to getting things for free, and hacking things together. The Windows world, which I come from, is used to paying through the nose for things. So I don't know if it sounds like maybe a wrong dichotomy there, because my view is that the Windows world is the one where the money is.
Yes and no. I would say that the Windows world is, especially for internet services and the like, so for things, servers that we monitor, etc., is not bigger than the open source, than the Linux world. So the internet is run by Linux, by a huge majority, I don't know, 70, 80%, something like that. So for sure, it's not that big. The problem that there is in the Windows world is how you sell to them. Think a bit about it. So when a firm has Windows servers, Windows infrastructure, it most likely they have a policy for purchases. They have a CTO or a purchase officer or something that you need to talk, and you need to convince in order to make a sale. On the Linux world, on the other hand, sales are more bottom-up. So you convince a developer that you have a very good tool, a very good solution, and that developer now goes to his manager to say, hey, you know what? I need that tool, it costs $500 a month, and okay, take the tool, proceed. So it's a little bit different, even the structure that we need inside the company to address it, I think. So it's a more complex problem that we are trying to tackle. I agree, though, with you that, yes, the Windows world is more prepared to pay for stuff. I agree. But it's a matter if it is easier for us to reach them.
Yeah, no, that was really interesting. Thank you.
On your question on simplify versus, like depth, I think Netdata is very, has always been this really simple agent and tool that kind of makes it quick and easy to get a dashboard up and start visualizing metrics, keeping a history. Like, it's always been the root of it all, right? That's kind of how it all got started. And we use it a lot, right? We really enjoy that part of it. The cloud came along, and I think it could be really valuable. Internally, I've had trouble getting people on board to really go all in on the cloud because it is missing some of the things that people kind of for some reason seem to just expect out of the box, like, hey, I shouldn't have to go to each one of my agents to configure the alerts, right? I shouldn't have to, they're like, if we're going to pay for this solution and it's this like cloud thing, like I should be able to say exactly what I want in this one place and apply it based on tags, on templates, on this, on that, things like that. So like I
totally,
like
yeah, go on.
I don't think you need to simplify it more, right? I think it's simple enough. What we need, like what might be useful is to focus on connecting the simple components together without really thinking about deeper.
Yes. Now look what happened in the data, because this is amazing, guys. What happened in the past, there are two paradigms, let's say, for DevOps and sysadmins. One is the point and click. I want it easy. I want it from the central point UI to actually make a change and be applied everywhere. And that's one valid case. The other says that, you know what? I want everything as infrastructure as code. So I want to use Terraform or Ansible or Puppet or a provisioning tool, and I want all the configuration that I'm gonna do to track it, to have versions of it, and do change management on it like it is code. So there are two different aspects, completely different and contradicting. You cannot easily have both editable files and central configuration because it's a mess. What will override what and what is going to happen there? Now, for the last few years, let's say, in the data, the infrastructure as code guys were winning. We were saying, come on, we want to be like, I don't know, to kill Prometheus or to do stuff like this. So we were moving towards that direction. More customizability with configuration files that a provisioning system can distribute across the infrastructure, etc. What we understood, though, is that this increases the complexity for the majority of all the other people. So although there are a few DevOps and the likes that they want Netdata to work like this actually kills the usability on all the others, the majority of people that don't give a damn about the infrastructure as code thing, and they want just to point and click and do it. So I think we are going to flip that now. We're going to change that.
I hope, it still somehow manages to preserve it should preserve for the people who want to do it IAC and, GitOps it and have configuration management to deploy things, like they can continue, But
Yeah,
for the people who just want to deploy via the central UI, like here are the alerts I want, and I want them to apply to any server in this site or this tag,
Yeah. I agree, and you are totally right. So I think this is gonna probably become first priority, mainly because also you say that simplicity, simplification, ease of use is more important than advanced things. This is a clear prioritization that this is the first thing we need to tackle.
So just conscious of time, we are a bit over time, but very, very good discussions and really great feedback from you guys. So we'll be wrapping up this now. Keep up the questions and the things for the next session. So hopefully in 2 weeks' time. So let's say in the 7th of June. It's like the next planned one. So if you have anything that you'd like to see addressed up front, either share it here on Discord or DM.
No, guys, wait. The guys have more questions. Shoot them. I'm here. I stay. Or everyone that wants to leave. I will stay. Move on. Until we have no questions.
Or that.
It's been well done to everybody. We've got some people getting up at dawn and everything on the call here. So if anyone needs to drop off, feel free. And we can keep chatting async on Discord. But it is good to keep the momentum going here as well. So let's do it.
Come on, if there are questions now, this is the best place to have them. Let's talk.
On what was just being talked about, like having it in the UI maybe is sometimes a bad thing when people can just go and click and do. I just randomly was working on a GitOps flow for scale, and they in their UI, you put like something in the config that says, hey, this is managed in Git now, and here's the URL. And by adding that comment, they basically put some more gates on the web UI to just tell you, are you sure you want to edit this? Like, it's normally done via Git. You have to override it if you do. Like, it can still be done both ways, and still be like safe and able to be locked down. So emergency edits can happen there, but the GitOps flow is the norm.
Yeah, so look what happens. In our case, the problem is a little bit more complicated. Look why. Configuration files, user configuration files in Linux are kept in etc data. The standard about etc data is that this directory is owned by root, so no one else can write in them, not even the data. Although it is etc data, it's not our directory. It's supposed to be a root owned directory. And Netdata has the right to read only. Now you go there, you have configured, for example, a job there or an alert or something, and you want to override it. Now the problem is that Netdata, the agent, cannot write to that directory. It's not allowed. It doesn't have the permissions. And if we change the permission of the directory, we are breaking the Linux paradigm. So we cannot do it. It's against the rules of Linux. So now where do you keep that file and how? Because a file will be created. So you will configure something from the user interface of Netdata Cloud. A command will be sent to an agent. And actually a configuration file will be kept there somewhere to actually reload that file in case the agent restarts, the server reboots, and the likes. So to start up exactly like it was. Now, we're going to put that in another directory, var, lib, netdata, config, whatever. We're going to find a way to put it there. But now, then look what happens. You have two files configuring the same thing in a different way in different directories. Now, you may say, okay, we have a script that's called edit config that edits configuration files for Netdata. Now this script, we will modify it to actually, if you do edit config in that file, it will tell you, wait a moment, you have two configuration files here. One is from the cloud, one is from your CI or manual edits or whatever. Which one, what you want to do? Which one you prefer to stay? Give you a D for whatever is there. But then, so with edit config, we can solve the problem. But if you go and say, okay, you know what, VI, etc, Netdata, blah, 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 whatever, then what happens? You believe that you made a change that actually Netdata didn't use. It will not use. You will restart Netdata, it will not use it. Mainly because there is in var lib config a file. So it's little technicalities, stupid technicalities, that we need to solve, unfortunately. You get it? It's stupid, yeah, the way it is. But we have to solve this problem in order to provide a smooth experience.
Yeah, it's one thing if like it's just centralized and you have like a great way to get it there, just in time when you need it, but that's kind of not a reality, right? You want the configs to sit there. So yeah. I hear you. I mean, that's what in as like someone who uses it, I'll use configuration management obviously to solve this, right?
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes. So anyway, there are ways to do it. Probably on the data user interface, we should state the fact. Be careful. You have two configurations here or something. But it's a little bit tricky how to do it. It's not straightforward, you know. That's one of the things that we're trying to solve now, how to do it properly.
Merging versus, inheriting, like overriding, and yeah. Thank you for holding these. I mean, it's great to be able to chat and kind of hear from you guys what's going on and from other people.
Yeah, this has been great. I think we need to get in the habit of this as well, because it's something that we haven't, I don't think, been that great as in the past, doing these regularly and just getting in the habit of doing them. So I think that's
And guys, if 2 weeks is too long for the guys, let's do it weekly. Let's have a meeting every week. I am okay.
I think we'll have a spotlight channel and we'll see what people say about frequency. If they prefer 1 week, every week, or every
Yeah,
2 weeks.
put a vote there. Who did the vote before? Put a vote.
It's very reassuring, because when I came to Netdata, I was very attracted by the mission of it. Yeah. And you guys, aside from a few blips, seem very invested in connecting with the community, and you don't often get that. Often it's like, well, yeah, you contribute, if you've got a problem, contribute some code, otherwise get lost. But you guys really do listen, and you seem to give a damn about the feedback, so that is appreciated.
And actually, we want more guys' feedback. So if you have more feedback to give, because now we are steering the project, as you understand, that we're trying to understand how to prioritize, what to do, what is best for the community, what the community needs, and how we're going to get the maximum acceptance. So, and how we're going to solve the biggest pain points. So if you have more feedback, we love feedback.
Famous last words. Okay. I got plenty of feedback, don't worry. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna rewatch this, and I reckon there's at least a couple of either GitHub discussions and or feature requests that'll come out of this that can also be put for the wider community as well. So not just people that are on Discord, but everybody, to get as wide a feedback as possible. So this is good stuff.
Yeah, I think Luis put in a number of questions as we were talking. So, as Miguel mentioned, we're going to have this dedicated channel. Put them all out there. I don't think we got to answering all of them, and also I think on the calls that we had with Zixep, he did give us a huge set of feedback, which we of course got back to the team. We tried to take certain decisions based on them, but we might have missed a few. So use the feedback channel or the channel that Miguel will create and put in everything in there. We promise to get back to you and make sure all of our decisions are made based on this.
One thing that I have been worried about, actually, that you've done really well, but since you've been trying to monetize the product, I guess my concern was that when you start off and you're not charging for anything, it's very easy to just say, well, we need to prioritize blah blah blah, and my concern was that was going to become more opaque. So the way Costa's come on today and been very clear about what you're willing to prioritize or not, and why you want to prioritize it. Please continue doing that, because it helps people not be frustrated if something isn't going to be done because you can't do everything. Yeah, just a bit of feedback. Okay.
Yeah. Great, thanks.
So checking if now is the time to wrap it up.
If anyone has any other question, guys, please go on.
My only question, I mean, I had asked a question in the chat further up. It's kind of a specific question, and I'm guessing there's probably a good place on Discord to ask it that we can chat offline about it.
Is there a document? Sorry, I jumped in too quick. Just thought, is there a document about what kind of telemetry you collect?
Yep. I can. There's a. I'll pull it out now and put it in the chat. But I kind of have a good understanding of that. I can share with you. We've actually just changed it recently a little bit as well. But I'll share that with you.
I want to know for probably not the reason you think. I'm actually interested in whether you guys have a system where people can opt in to have sort of more behavioral data fed back. Like if there's an issue in one chart, where does that user go in terms of other charts to look at it? Because that should surely drive the product.
Well, this is like, I would love to do this. So I'm working on something at the moment, which is like a first possible step on that, which is using telemetry from alerts to try and build. If we can see, okay, which alerts do people have a tendency to open more so than others, we could build that into like an alert CTR score and actually give that back as a feature then to say like it's sort of an alert rank. So it's always been a problem because we don't have all of the data, the metrics data, to be able to do these kind of crowdsourced hive mind features that we can then build back into the product. But there is definitely things like front-end telemetry and alerts is one area where we do get sort of clicks data or feedback data that we can build in. So for sure, one thing I had thought about was like a recommendation sort of approach where, we've seen the last 3 charts you've just clicked at, and how well can we predict which one you might want to look at next and all that sort of stuff. So for sure, like I think we probably have some data that we could do that on, but it's just recommendation systems are hard and tricky. But it's a good question because it's something that I'd love to try and get that at some stage somewhere within the product, have a sort of a recommended approach, and then you can have different backends for that recommendation engine, which could be based on alerts or based on telemetry or even based on anomalies or based on different things basically. But that's a good question because I'm keen to try and explore that at some stage.
Guys, for the moment, mainly because people are complaining about telemetry, we have minimal telemetry there. And, this is a problem for us because we really want to understand what is happening in order to provide a better service at the end, a better software. And telemetry is the only way that makes this possible. For example, we have on the cloud, on the data cloud, about 200, 250 signups every day. But guess what? There is a strange behavior there. About 40% of them, they never claim a node. Wait a moment. And some people, they join again, and again, and again, and again. And you say, wait a moment, why? What are these people are doing? Why is this happening? So having telemetry, enough telemetry, can help us solve these problems and make the whole product smoother for everyone. But there are a lot of people that are very skeptical about this and they don't allow telemetry. So it's
why not have like a Windows Insider type thing?
Like what do you mean?
Like Windows Insider is when you get slightly newer versions potentially, or at least with the goal of testing and giving feedback. Because I have environments that I'm happy to pump in, and I'm sure other people would be if they saw it having value and you were very clear about how you handled the data.
Yeah, probably that's a good idea. I think also that we need a committee to help us steer the project better. So like the discussion that we're having now, for me this is crucial, the discussion that we had about dive deeper or simpler, make it simpler. I think that this we need to form a group of people, representative of our community, a few very strong users that can actually help us steer the project better. Roll out to them some other features, more experimental, see them, help us get feedback, iterate with them in a faster way. So probably we need something there to make it smoother. But yeah, I agree, this would be an insider program.
Okay, I think we're dropping off. People are we're tapping out. I think now we're dipping. I think looks like we're nearly there.
Thank you all so much.
It was a great first session. Let's keep this up.
See you all next time, whether it's next week or in 2 weeks. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Bye.